Today we're going to take a look at the newly refined Dorado V2, an update to the flagship fishing kayak in the Feelfree lineup. The new features and functions of the Dorado V2 are a direct result of customer feedback as well as working with our Feelfree fishing team to help make improvements from the previous model, making this the best fishing kayak for kayak anglers to take their fishing game to the next level. Right off the bat here on the new green flash Dorado V2, a new color for 2022, highly visible on the water and looks great in photos. You'll see the first change here at the bow for the V2, and that is we have raised the bow height. And this is just to help mitigate any issues with choppy conditions, boat wakes, anything of that sort of nature. We're just giving you a little bit more clearance there in the front. On all of our Feelfree kayaks, we've got our molded in handle here, which is great for transport and a tie down point. And we've got a molded in area here if you wanted to mount some lights or a GoPro camera, something to that effect. As well as some molded in rod tip protection to keep your rods safe when you're coming into the dock or for transporting them on your trailer or in the back of your truck. We've got a storage area up here with a little bit of texture to help keep things secure, as well as some quick release bungees. And another similarity but slightly tweaked feature of the Dorado V2 here is this front hatch area. Great place to mount electronics or anything like that, but a nice little rim here for catching loose lures while you're on the water and keep everything in place. But if we open a hatch up, you're going to see we've added a gasket here on this front hatch just to help mitigate any water that may get into the front hatch area. You'll also see that we have some wires sticking out here. So we have built into this kayak the ability to plug directly into the motor drive system, the optional motor that goes in the overdrive system. So that is now pre-plumbed. There's no longer a need to run power from the rear of the kayak up to the front of the boat. That is now already done for you. And there's also another point here that's tapped into that same internal power system to add something like, say, a fish finder. You'll also see we've got a quick removable pan here. That just helps. Again, any electronics that you may store in this front hatch to be up and out of the way in case any water comes up through the transducer hole there. It keeps that dry. And speaking of transducers, we've got another addition to the V2 here on the Dorado, and that is our quick release transducer mount. Under the boat is a transducer mount to attach to your fish finder, and that is now attached on a pulley system. So you can now quickly pull up and deploy your fish finder transducer under the kayak by pulling this lever. It's also spring loaded, so if you forget to pull that up as you pull into shallower water, it will actually retract back under the boat, knocking it out of the way and avoiding damage. And finally, here in the front, we've got a couple molded in cup holders because everybody needs beverages on the water, and staying hydrated is very important. Moving into the cockpit of the Dorado, we've got some updates to the Unitrack rails here to help better secure accessories that you might mount here. This change also helped strengthen the sidewalls of the kayak, as well as adding a slightly different profile to the boat. We've also got the star here of the Dorado, the overdrive pedal system. If you are not familiar with the overdrive, I would suggest checking out the link in the description below. But a great pedal drive system here. Forward and reverse capable, super durable, easy to deploy, and also accepts the optional motor drive system, which allows you to engage and disengage pedal and motor power with essentially the push of a button. We've got the gravity seat here with the high backrest, super comfortable way to spend a day out on the water, easily adjustable up and down. The Dorado also has the seat adjuster for the gravity seat that helps you get that right pedal position here with the overdrive. Very comfortable. The high back is absolutely great, and it's got some mesh pouches here on the side for anything that you want to have super handy. The gravity seat also has another addition to the Dorado here, which is the gravity seat cam lock system. This rail here that runs down the center of the deck is attached to a quick release lever that basically holds down the front of that gravity seat. So when you are pedaling or leaning too far back on that high back gravity seat, it stops the seat from wanting to go back. Again, quick to use, easily adjustable, and an excellent new feature here for the Dorado V2. We've got some cool emblems here on the side, a nice little touch, as well as some LED lighting built in here. Turn those on. We've removed the nav lights in the front of the Dorado for the V2, but we did keep the LEDs built into the deck so that you can see what you got going on here for those early morning launches or late night fishing adventures. So the blue here will illuminate your side storage, and we've got some lights here in the back that kind of, again, just kind of give the boat some better visibility at night and gives you better visibility of things that you might have on your deck. The Dorado also comes with the 8-ball steering system, which is a part of the overdrive system that controls the oversized beaver tail rudder in the back, which is deployed here with the uphaul cord on the side. Easily pull that up and secure it into the cleat to either raise or lower the beaver tail rudder. That does a great job of steering this kayak. And on the side here, we've got a bungee to secure a paddle, because although this is an overdrive pedal kayak, it's always good to have an emergency paddle with you just in case. As we move into the rear of the kayak, we finally have reached what I think is the most exciting new feature of the Dorado V2, and that is the removable battery box. This battery box is now pre-wired and houses the battery of your choosing. So in my case, I've got a lithium battery in here, but you can use whatever battery you like. That is pre-wired to connect the battery. It also has wires located in this handy little trap door to keep things tidy that you simply plug into these two ports here in the rear tank well. And that powers the kayak. That powers the LED lights we saw. It powers the connection for the optional motor drive in the front hatch, as well as that additional power point I mentioned before to run a fish finder or any other electronics that you want in the front of the boat. But the box itself also has a USB charging point for GoPros or cell phones on the water, as well as a 12-volt charger. The box has some buttons here that kind of control all the LED lights. It has its own LED lights on there as well. But the best part, or the most interesting part of this box to me, is that tucked away underneath here is a handle that you flip up out of the way here, and you simply pull the whole unit right out of the kayak. Now you can take the battery box and store it away from your kayak when you're done for the day, so you can charge your batteries. You can leave your battery box in the truck when transporting the kayak. Really, it just gives you the flexibility to keep your batteries organized and charged however you like. Additionally, that battery box has space underneath with built-in drainage, so any water that does make its way into the kayak now flows underneath the battery box itself, keeping anything that is stored in here high and dry while out on the water. As we continue through the rear here, you'll see 4 flush-mounted rod holders with rod leashes to keep everything secure here, as well as a nice rear tank well area that has 2 scupper holes for drainage and plenty of space back here for a Feelfree crate bag to take even more fishing gear out on the water with you, or a cooler or anything like that, with some quick-release bungees to keep that secure. We've got a couple more Unitrack rails back here as well, flags, lights, things like that, and another molded-in handle for tying down the kayak, transporting it, carrying it. And finally, in the rear of the kayak, we've got another change for the Dorado V2, which is some conveniently placed handles here on the outside edges of the kayak. If you're into this level of fishing, you know that these boats get pretty big and pretty heavy, and that's not an issue when you're on the water, but moving them around on land can be a bit of a chore. So these handles on the outside are really good for moving the boat around on land and helps get that beaver tail rudder out of your way when transporting the kayak. Speaking of which, we've got the oversized beaver tail rudder here, again attached to the 8-ball steering there in the cockpit, and that really does a great job of tracking and steering this kayak on the water. And again, a not so visible but very helpful addition to the Dorado V2 is a slight redesign of the rear. We've reinforced the rudder attachment point here to get it a little more out of the way and strengthen this portion of the kayak, as well as giving a little bit more room for that patented wheel in the keel to do its job. The patented wheel in the keel is featured on all of our Feelfree kayaks and is a great addition to especially these bigger boats for helping you move them around on land. And finally, we've got a couple of skid plates on either side as well, just to protect the back end of the kayak. And that's the newly refined Dorado V2, the all-around fishing platform for the kayak angler looking to take their game to the next level. If you've got questions about this or any of our products, head on over to feelfreeus.com or visit your local dealer.